Hi folks, welcome to this week's edition of the Inside Track with Scottish Sun. As always, I've got Jim here with me. Jim, we've got a fantastic week of race or weekend of racing coming up. So we'll just get straight into it. We've got Newmarket, we've got York, we've got Ascot. So we'll start off tomorrow at York, at Newmarket.
Yeah,
What do you fancy in the card there tomorrow?
yeah, it's fantastic racing, isn't it? I mean, I know you've got a couple looked out for Perth on Sunday, and I'm going to concentrate on that in the column come Sunday. But it's great that Newmarket, Ascot, and York are all racing Friday and Saturday because it gives us a real good chance to get a handle on the going at both tracks. Sorry, all three tracks by having a look at the Friday racing going into the Saturday. But the Friday racing stands up well, of course, at Newmarket. You've just teed that up. That's the second day of this July festival. We might already have seen the St Leger winner on Thursday, the winner of the Bahrain Stakes, Scandinavia, looked very, very smart indeed for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, but I'm sure we'll get round to that in the weeks to come. But Newmarket on Friday, the one I'm going to mention here is the horse that's going to be my nap selection in the paper. I know you've got one earlier on, which we'll come to in a moment, but the one I fancy mainly on Friday is a horse called Insanity for Alan King. Rossa Ryan takes them out. Now, Rossa was actually in the saddle on this one when it was quite well fancied for the November handicap, but the soft ground totally scuppered his chances that day. I think he was 23rd or 24. We can put a line through that. He's been a much better horse this season in a couple of races, particularly last time at Ayr. I thought he was quite impressive winning that day. Looks a very, very competitive handicap beforehand, and Insanity. Alan King ran two in that race, and Insanity came out as the winner. He goes forward to this race with a trainer in tremendous form, three winners in his last eight runners, admittedly two of those over jumps, but we have to accept that Alan is now a dual purpose trainer. I think this horse has got a real chance off 9 stone 5. There's one or two others, especially from the Ian Williams yard, who runs three in this to just complicate matters a little bit. But I think Insanity is improving enough that 1 mile and 6 at this July course at Newmarket will suit him well, and I've napped that one in the Scottish Sun on Friday.
Yeah, I quite like Liari in this at a big price. It's 25 to 1 this morning. That run in the Ascot Stakes steps back in trip here to this 1 mile 6. Got out in front in the Ascot Stakes, just kind of got gobbled up late on in the race. But this smaller field, I think, will help. Lever Power is drawn alongside it. I just hope that they don't duff each other up front. But I think Liari from a low draw back at this trip, won by 5 lengths over this trip back in May. So I think Liari, who's now with Michael Bell, having had a jumps campaign with Paul Nicholls, I
Yeah.
think Liari at 25 to 1 was definitely worth an each way look. We've got the Falmouth Stakes as well, Jim, at 335. They're the grade one for the fillies. January, again, we talked about this allowance for the 3-year-olds,
Yeah.
£9 in this race. Do you think that just brings January right into it on the form of the third at Ascot and the Coronation Stakes?
100%. This 3 year old allowance at this time of the year, it gets less as the season goes on. But at this time of the year, when these 3 year olds have been peaking for classics and they're still getting this massive weight allowance, I think you're spot on with this one. I think January getting the £9 from the older mares in this farm stakes must have a tremendous chance, especially the way the O'Brien horses are running and winning at the moment. And he seems to be placing them superbly well this season and getting Ryan Moore on, okay, apart from the Derby, getting Ryan Moore on the right one. So that's a fascinating aspect to it as well. But no, I couldn't oppose January there. Very much with you. And I think you've got one or two earlier on, one of which I think I'm going to agree with you again. That's in the Duchess of Cambridge.
Yeah, the Venetian Sun looks. I mean, I don't think it'll be a bet for me at odds
No,
on, but Venetian Sun just looks hard to beat after winning the Albany, doesn't it?
looks different class. The only one I'd suggest, and sadly there's only six runners, so it's not even good for a 1, 2, 3 each way. The one I think has been improving all season has been Tim Easterby's Argentine Tango. David Allen going to Newmarket to ride this one. I hope that runs a big race and picks up a few quid for connections. But no, like you, I won't be opposing Venetian Sun.
Yeah, the only other one I've got on Friday at Newmarket is Urban Glimpse in the 150. He was second at York behind Dante's Lad in May. That's won again next time. The fourth, the six have also won. It's been second twice since stepping up to 10 furlongs, so it's been chapping at the door. I just think Urban Glimpse has a look at a horse that might go in the 150.
Yep, that's another one for you at Newmarket. But of course, we've mentioned it's a very busy Friday, not to mention Saturday. So we'll get York and Ascot. Well, we go to York first, where I quite fancy a horse in the handicap at 355 here, and that's a horse called Financer. I've been with it before. It's been very consistent this season. But the last twice it's been ridden by Tim Easterby's daughter, then his son in amateur races. Goes back into an open handicap here with Amy Walk in the saddle. Now, Amy's still a professional apprentice, although she was an amateur back in the day. She still gets to claim £3. And I think the key thing here, Robert, is that Amy rode this horse at Ayers Gold Cup meeting last year and won on it. Back on it this weekend at York on Friday. And I think the way Financer's run in his last three starts, with Amy doing the pushing, I think he's got a right good chance in this Class 4 at 3:55 at York on Friday.
Yeah, and then down at Ascot in the 310, I like the look of Lakers, who was only 1.5 lengths off Shadow of Light in a maiden last year, and it was only beat half a length by Lazy Griff, who, as we know, has been running
Yep.
in these derbies and running really well, finishing place. So the step up to a mile for this one should be perfect. It's up 4 for winning at Newmarket a couple of weeks ago, but 90 still looks pretty workable. He
Yep.
should get to the front, and it just the shape of the race looks like he could dominate this. So I think Lakers. And the 310 is going to, I'm going to back that one, I think. What about
Okay.
you?
Well,
What about you down at Ascot, Jim?
yeah, I won't be opposing Lakers, so I'll leave that one for you to win, Robert. One I like in the Phillies handicap at 3:45 is one that Joanna Mason's picked up a spare ride on for Charlie Johnson, Gaia or Gaia, whichever the commentator chooses to go with. It's number 7. It's on a hat trick here. Maybe a pound or two to find on the figures, but I think Joanna's riding at the top of her game, and I think Charlie's picked a nice race for this one. So I'm going to go for Gaia or Gaia to complete the hat trick under Joe Mason in the 3:45. And then I'm going against Joe because she's principally down there at Ascot to ride a horse called Sondad for family connections. Obviously, Mick and David Easterby. That one's chasing a hat trick. I can see why she's going down there to ride that one, but I'm going to go against Sondad here with a horse which just failed to land the nap a couple of weeks ago. Fast Track Harry for Clive Cox and David Probert, running with a tongue tie on for the first time. I thought very unfortunate not to win last time, just got going too late. So Fast Track Harry to beat Sondad in the 4:55 at Ascot on Friday. And I just wanted to mention one before we move on from Friday. It's in the 7:10 at Chepstow. It's only a 4-runner race, and I've got no idea what the price is going to be so far, Robert. But Anthropologist was one of the unluckiest losers of the season last time at Haydock under Jason Hart. Had absolutely nowhere to go all the way up the straight. By the time he got out, the race was over, and Ed Greatrix gets the job of getting the winning brackets on Anthropologist in the 7:10 at Chepstow on Friday.
Thanks for that, Jim. And then we'll move on to Saturday. We'll do it back to front again. We'll start with the July Cup, the Group 1 over 6 furlongs. What do you fancy in that?
Well, I don't know if you can see it, Robert, but the headline bet in the Thursday column was Whistle Jacket, and I'll certainly not be swapping from that because I've been looking at this race all week and thinking that Whistle Jacket was the one to be with. Again, we're talking O'Brien and Moore. Of course, with these sprints, the 3-year-olds don't get quite as much weight, but it's still significant over such a short trip. Whistle Jacket, I think, has been a Group 1 sprinter from day one. He's got Group 1 brackets already at Deauville, winning the Prix Mornay. He ran an absolute blinder, unheralded, I thought, behind Ger Lyon's horse in the Breeders' Cup over at Del Mar last year. And he's since come on from that. He's trained on well. He's won already. And I think we can forgive him last time when he got absolutely no run at all in the Commonwealth Cup. So I think they've laid him out for this race. We mentioned last week about the O'Brien horses. Well, we should say the Coolmore horses because we're talking stallions here. The Coolmore horses being laid out to win certain races. They all get their turn just to make sure they all become stallions at the end of their career. Well, I think Whistle Jacket's going to make a stallion anyway, but it's going to look even better if he's got a July Cup in his CV. And I'm going to go for that one. But I can see dangers, and I think you're going to point one out, maybe two.
Well, I thought Spy Chief was quite interesting. Was second in the Jersey at Royal Ascot over 7 furlongs, steps back to 6 here, which I think that should help, given the way it won at Yarmouth the time before it went to Ascot. Front runner should get to the
Yep,
front. I mean, looking at the race, Innis Sheeran's probably the only one round about it in the draw that is likely to go up well with the pace. So I just think over the 6 furlongs, Spy Chief, if it gets to the front, might be hard to peg back. And I can't leave Flora Bermuda unbacked again after
of
Ascot.
course.
We put her up at a price. She ran an absolute cracker.
Yeah.
Drawn 4 that day. She was the best of the low draws. Didn't get a clear run when she was about a furlong and a half out. She got bumped sideways. So Don't think she'd have won that day. In fact, we know she wouldn't have won that day, but she'd
Yeah.
have been a lot closer. She's been kept off the same mark. So I think at 5-1, Flora Bermuda deserves a win bet. And Spy Chief 20-25 this morning. I think that's a knocking each way bet. And then the Bunbury Cup, Jim.
Yeah, the Bunbury Cup. I mean, the obvious one here, and rightly so, is More Thunder. That was my selection for the Wokingham at Royal Ascot, and desperately unlucky not to win. Came from a mile back. I had it each way at 12, so at least I get something back. But very, very unlucky not to win under Tom Marcon. So they go up a furlong here. They go up from 6 to 7. Now he's already a winner at a mile and a quarter, so there's no problem with the stamina. I just think they've maybe been training him as a sprinter. They toyed with the idea of going for the July Cup, making a supplementary entry, but they've decided to go for the Bunbury Cup over 7. He is the obvious way to go. And if my selection, which I'll tell you just shortly, is an on runner, then I'd certainly be switching to More Thunder. But the one I think might win is the one that won last year, a horse called Alto, trained by Ian Williams, who's got his horses running really well at all sorts of levels at the moment. Joe Levy takes them out because Billy Loughnane has switched to Dark 30 for Richard Hannon. I thought Alto had a very, very quiet run first time out this season. He's back down to within a couple of pounds of last year's winning mark. 7 furlong specialist. At the prices, I tipped him up in the Sunday column last week at 20s. He's only down to 14s. That's still each way value for me. In a field which is only 13, there's a maximum field of 20 here, and it's cut up to 13. So we'll still get 1, 2, 3. Some bookies might go 4 as well. But Alto, each way for me, although you would have to say More Thunder is the obvious one. But you've got another one as well.
Yeah, but the Acadian Thunder, I think, kept on the same mark as when he was second in the Buckingham Palace Stakes. Really eye-catching run that day. We put him up at a big price. Really eye-catching run that day. And the David O'Mara stable just seems to be
Yeah,
coming back into a wee bit of form. I mean, it's strange, which we'll talk about later as the
yeah.
season goes on. She scrambled home a wee bit, maybe just in a kind of a race that didn't suit her on Saturday. But he's had 3 winners in the last week, so I think the O'Mara stable might just be coming back to life a wee bit. Acadian Thunder ran really well at Royal Ascot, kept on the same mark, so I'm gonna stick with that one.
Good stuff. And earlier on at Newmarket, I think you're going to put up another one. That's in the 212, the 7 furlong handicap for the fillies.
Yeah, just like Royal Velvet for in this one, it won for us in May. Went close again over course and distance last month. Up a pound for that. I notice I've got William Buick riding at this time. I assume Kieran
Yeah.
Fallon is at Ascot. I've not actually double checked that, but I just thought Buick was an eye catching booking for that. Royal Velvet keeps running its race, so I think that one will certainly 8-1. Will certainly be worth an each way bet. Misinformation, Ascot winner runs in this. Up £6 for that, and I just think 15 of the last 16 winners of this have carried under 9 stone too. So I just wonder if that one might just be handicapped out of it now.
Yeah, I'm not going to put up one in the superlative. Just to mention, though, I think Venetian Lace might run well. Oisin Murphy's taking him out for Charlie Johnson. Ran well, if not quite good enough at Royal Ascot. I think the 7 furlongs at Newmarket with that stiff finish might just suit. That's Venetian Lace. Just keep an eye on the prices. Might end up each way value. Not quite sure how that'll pan out at the moment. But as with Friday, Robert, we've got York and Ascot as well. And in the John Smith's Cup at York, I was going to be quite sweet on Paddy the Squire for Ian Jarden, which I put up as a saver last week in the Old Newton Cup, and it finished second. I spoke to Ian Jarden the following day down at Ayr, and he was quite sweet on going to York for the John Smiths. Well, they declared it for the race, but it's now an on-runner, so we don't need to worry about Paddy for the time being. I'm sure he'll be back for a couple of races later in the season. I really can't, now that Paddy's a non-runner, I can't see past the favourite, 4-5 to 1, I think it was this morning. Archivist for William Haggis. It won really nicely last time over a mile, but was screaming out for a mile and a quarter. They nominated the John Smith's Cup straight afterwards. He's got a £5 penalty, and even with the £5 penalty, is £2 well in due to the new handicap mark. So while I hope Jim Goldie's Phelan runs a good race, I'm going to put up the favourite for the John Smiths. That's Archivist.
And then we'll go down to Ascot where at 2:22 we've got the Summer Mile. My Cloud, a horse that we've talked about a fair bit. We're going to find out whether it's a group horse after all. Price to me, Jim, looks a wee bit skinny. Would you be interested in it at 72? I mean, we did think it was short at Ascot and they smashed it up to a short price. So the market will maybe tell us. But at 72, stepping up to this company, is it a bit skinny?
Well, I've taken a bit of a view on this, Robert, because I'm going to go against the two handicappers stepping up to Group Two here. My Cloud, which of course is a very good horse, and on a four-timer this season, won last season as well. But Never So Brave's the other handicapper stepping up for Andrew Balding. I'm going against both. I really think Hatem is going to win this for Richard Hannon and Sean Levy. Sean back on Hatem for the first time since the Craven last year. For various reasons, he's not been allowed to ride it, but he's back on Hatem in this Group 2 at Ascot on Saturday. Had to step up to a mile and a quarter to win at Royal Ascot, but I don't think there'll be any problem going back to a mile. And I just keep going back to that Irish 2000 Guineas form last year with Rosalian. And I think that's an absolute standout compared to the two improving handicappers he's up against on Saturday. So very much Hatem for me. I took 100 to 30 on Wednesday. I suspect it'll be shorter. It was edging towards 11 to 4 when we recorded this today. So Hatem for me in the Summer Mile at Ascot on Saturday.
And then in the 450, the 5 furlong handicap, I'm going to be in serious trouble if this Royal Ascot form doesn't stand up. But we'll find out. It's all going to be put in the line this weekend. I think Red Orange, who was a comfortable winner of the low draws in the Palace of Holyrood House,
Yeah.
he finished third. He was by miles clear of the side he was drawn. Obviously, the winners were on the other. The first two were on the other side, but should get a decent passage into this. Germanic looks like the only one that will go forward. Give him a nice toe into the race. He's up £4 for Ascot, but I just think the manner he won, the manner he ran there. Sorry, I just think at 11 to 2, I'm interested in him in that 5 furlong at 450.
Well, if we're both looking for a winner by the 450 on Saturday, I'll be against you, Robert, because I'm going with the Cliff horse. I'm going with Existent for Stuart Williams. And the clincher for me this time is that he's put up Ashley Lewis, who claims £7. Ashley rides for Gary and Josh Moore. Very good young rider indeed. I'm just hoping that extra couple of pounds, Warren Fentiman's been riding the horse. So I'm just hoping that extra couple of pounds might swing it, because Existent has been so close to winning a big handicap all season. Goes well at this Ascot 5 with Ashley Lewis taking off 7. I'm going to go with Existent. Hopefully, of an each way price as well, but looks as though we're going head to head in the lucky last at Ascot on Saturday.
You'll have had a good look at Hamilton by now. Have you got anything up the road here?
Yeah, I think by Saturday night I might fancy one or two, just depending on the ground. But the one I'm going to put up is a horse which I thought ran really well at Ayr on Sunday, Robert. One of Mike Smith's horses. It's a filly called Zebra Star. Mike's horses at a level are in absolutely fantastic form. And again, I'm lucky enough to be in the paddock at these meetings, and I get to see how they look. And I thought Zebra Star looked absolutely outstanding before that race at Ayr. Only went down by a neck to a filly called Strya, which was backed off the boards. Strya's now got a £5 penalty against her on Saturday night. So over the mile at Hamilton, Zebra Star is going to be the one for me in the 8:30, and Amy Walk, who rode it at Ayr, is going to be back on board.
And just because the weekend's not busy enough, we can't let a Perth meeting go by without flagging a couple up. Now, we don't know the decks yet, so this might be redundant come 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. But I thought in the 2:33 Salamanca Bay, a horse who every time it runs seems to have a different trainer. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been every yard round the country, this horse. But it's with Laura Morgan now, and it bounced back to form last time. It was 3 lengths clear coming to the last and tipped up. Been £2 rise for that. I think that won't stop it if it stays in its feet this time. And then 308 Lucky 7 for Nicky Richards. Clearly a fragile horse. It's a 7-year-old. It's only run 6 times in its career, but it's 2 to 2 at Perth. Won a maiden there, then won a novice under a penalty, beating Byron Hill and Spit Spot, who've both won since. I think we put it up at Kelso from memory. We put it up at Kelso
We
back in
did.
November, and it was ridden really cold. They
Yeah.
had it right out the back, and it was coming through, and it just jinked coming to the last. Lost all momentum, finished third, but it's been off since. But it's one off long breaks in the past. So I think as long as Nicky declares it, and as long as it keeps straight at the last, I think Lucky 7 will have a big chance.
Yeah, and come Sunday's column, the diary column in the Scottish Sun, I think Lucky 7 will be on side for me as well, providing that's been declared, Robert. So looking forward to Perth. And of course, if it's Monday in July, it's got to be Ayr as well. So we'll have more about Ayr on Sunday's column as well. But it's going to be a hectic enough weekend. So fingers crossed we can get through it.
Thanks very much, Jim. Good luck, folks.
Thanks, everybody.